Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Elle.K here for another video. Clearly I'm in the same shirt that I was wearing in my last video, or the video that you'll see after this, depending on what order I post these in, but that is because I am pre-filming and I just haven't changed my shirt for this video yet, but I will do it for the next one, just not this one. So yeah. For today's video, as you can see from the title, I'm going to be reacting to 5-star book reviews for books that I hate. Now let me preface this with hate being a very strong word. They're books that I strongly dislike and would more than likely not recommend. And let me also just put the disclaimer here, just because I did not like these books does not mean you cannot like them, does not mean that I condemn you for liking them. None of these books are blatantly problematic in any way. They just were not it for me at all. So I decided I would kind of go and see what some people actually liked about it and maybe see if we can find a common ground with, you know, some things that other people may have liked and things that I did not like. So that being said, if you would like to see me mildly criticize some books, keep on watching.
Talk to me nice, talk to me honestly, look in my eyes.
Okay, so the first book that I'm going to be not necessarily reviewing, but reading 5-star reviews for is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Let me preface this by saying I didn't hate this book. I actually listened to the audiobook. I actually listened to the audiobook version of this book, and I actually really enjoyed the performance of the audiobook. I think it was really well done. I think the book is really well written. It's kind of written in this interview format. And listening to the audiobook really made me feel immersed in the interview. My biggest issue with this book was the main character. I can't stand Daisy. I think she is, first of all, let me read you the synopsis of this book. I'm getting ahead of myself. A gripping novel about the whirlwind rise of an iconic 1970s rock group and their beautiful lead singer, revealing the mystery behind their infamous breakup. Everyone knows Daisy Jones and the Six, but nobody knows the real reason why they split at the absolute height of their popularity, until now. Daisy is a girl coming of age in LA in the late 60s, sneaking into clubs on the Sunset Strip, sleeping with rock stars, and dreaming of singing at the whiskey, a go-go. The sex and drugs are thrilling, but it's the rock and roll she loves most. By the time she's 20, her voice is getting noticed, and she has the kind of heedless beauty that makes people do crazy things. Another band getting noticed is the Six, led by brooding Billy Dunn. On the eve of the first tour, his girlfriend Camilla finds out she's pregnant, and with the pressure of impending fatherhood and fame, Billy goes a little wild on the road. Daisy and Billy cross paths when the producer realizes the key to supercharged success is to put the two together. What happens next will become the stuff of legends. So this synopsis was actually really intriguing. It sounded like a lot of fun following this 60s, 70s rock band, which is really not an era of music that I care for anyways. But I thought it would be kind of cool to learn more about it, and for the most part it was. Like, I genuinely liked the story itself and every other character except for Daisy. Camilla, let me tell you, Camilla is an amazing character and just an amazing woman altogether. Daisy was just this really whiny, superiority-filled, pity me type of character that just irritated my soul. It was all of her problems that she came across were strictly because of herself, and obviously that can be said for anybody. You know, the decisions you make, the choices you make throughout your life are going to lead to various consequences, but she had this way of like, just this poor me, I'm so struck down by the world, mind you, like it wasn't necessary. Whoop. Sorry. It wasn't necessary. Like, if you read the story and you know her background, she had no reason to be as whiny as she was. But that's my rant over. Let's get into why people have rated this book 5 stars. On Goodreads, this book has over 347,000 ratings with a general rating of 4.2. I rated this book 2 stars. Sorry, not sorry. So the first review is actually written by another booktuber. And she says, Daisy Jones and the Six is a masterpiece. Incredible, intoxicating, unforgettable. Truly one of the most remarkable stories I've ever had the pleasure of reading. The moment I finished, I had to immediately start from the beginning again. Girl, not I. No, ma'am. I refuse to let go. And yes, I did read it twice in a row. Good for you. There is a warning for substance abuse, addiction, and abortion. So that's just a trigger warning there. She said, this book is so feminist. The women in the book are also powerful and dynamic. I would say all of them except for Daisy. There are so many strong messages about women empowerment, taking no one's crap, supporting other women, and demanding credit where it's due. I see where you pulled that. Even the smaller side characters are... What? Even the smaller side characters are much more layered than most supporting characters as we explore their own storylines, plus the relationship between all the women, and then she lists the women, Karen, Daisy, Karen and Camilla and Daisy, yeah, are all wholesome. I mean, I wouldn't say the relationship between Camilla and Daisy is wholesome, but okay. Unique and authentic, especially for a story with a bit of a love triangle. I could not be happier with the superb study of the experience of women. I was also left so touched by the exploration of addiction. I'll give you that. It's a disease very close to my heart. I will skip over that. That's a little bit of her own personal stuff. And oh gosh, the music. I just had to give a shout out to the author for writing so many superb original songs with their own distinct voice and sound. 60s, 70s rock is not my vibe, but I will give it to the author. Like, what she put together there was pretty cool. I cannot wait for the series to come out so I can finally hear the marvelous lyrics sung the way they should be. Again, I refuse to believe this isn't a real band. I don't know what she means by series. I don't know if it's coming as a show or something along those lines. I have so few complaints about this book, and honestly, they're so minuscule compared to the novel's countless strengths. I felt the main plot twist wasn't all that shocking, and the ending could have been stronger compared to the rock solid build-up, but I'm so enchanted by this book that I'm totally unbothered. One, I'm really, really happy that you enjoyed it. That's amazing. I'm very, very happy that you were able to pull all of that out of the book. I think what the points that she touched upon, like the female empowerment, I will give her that. It's a very, very heavily female empowerment driven novel, which is nice. A lot of it is, you know, Daisy standing her ground and like she said, not taking anybody's crap. So I will give her that. Those points are within the book. For me, it was overshadowed by how annoying and whiny Daisy is. People are resonating with the overall story, which is awesome and really, really beautiful. And I'm glad that they're able to do that. Nobody's really picking out specific characters or any specific flaws with it. So, I mean, I can't really pick at anything there, but they are 5-star reviews. So obviously they're gonna have immensely enjoyed the book. I agree with the vividness that the characters were written in. I think that the author did an outstanding job creating these characters. She really provided a lot of backstory, a lot of thought, a lot of research into addiction and so on and so forth within the book. And it was a joy to listen to. It was literally just the one character that did it in for me. If we had switched it and said maybe Camilla was the main character, I probably would have given this book 4 or 5 stars. But because of Daisy, I just can't do it. So that's it for Daisy Jones and the Six. The next book that we are going to look at is, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you probably see this coming, and that is the Geography of Lost Things by Jessica Brody. I gave this book 2 stars. Let me read you the synopsis and then we'll get into it. So, in this romantic road trip story perfect for fans of Sarah Denson and Morgan Matson, well, not really, a teen girl discovers the value of ordinary objects while learning to forgive her absent father. Sure. After Allie's father passes away, he leaves her his one and only prized possession, a 1968 Firebird convertible, to his daughter. But Allie doesn't plan on keeping it, not when it reminds her too much of all her father's unfulfilled promises. So when she finds a buyer 300 miles up the Pacific coast willing to pay enough money for the car to save her childhood home, Allie can't wait to get going. Except Allie has no idea how to drive stick shift. But guess who does? Allie's ex-boyfriend Nico. And Nico has other plans. He persuades Allie that instead of selling the car, they should trade up. They should trade up this item they collect items they collect on the road trip to eventually reach the monetary amount Elle needs. Agreeing with Nico's crazy plan, Elle sets off on a unique adventure that is unlike anything she ever could have expected. And it's through Alle's travels through the strangers she meets and the things that they value and why they value them that Elle eventually comes to understand her father and how his life may not have been as easy and carefree as she previously thought. Because just like the seemingly insignificant objects Elle collects, not everything is exactly as it appears. Okay. Again, this is a book that got me by the synopsis. I love road trip books. I really, really like road trip books. It's one of my favorite type of tropes within YA contemporary. This book had everything going for it, but just like Daisy Jones and the Six, the main character is what made it ultimately flop for me. And this stool, sorry. I understand a lot of why she feels the way she feels, having the whole absentee father thing and digging more into that story. And honestly, it was the flashbacks of like the memories of her father and that story unfolding that kept me reading it. Otherwise I would have DNF'd it. And also her ex-boyfriend Nico was a really interesting and in-depth character that I liked a lot. Elle was just, again, very whiny, and I understand that she is high school age. Like I believe she's graduating from high school, so I understand that there is that youthful, juvenile essence to her, but it was just overkill. Like, what's that? There's a scene in the book, without giving any spoilers away, where she literally, like, her and Nico are having a disagreement. She gets out of the car, stomps into the middle of a parking lot, and just like waits for him to come and talk to her or something along those lines. And I was like, girl, you are in the middle of, you better get back in the car. And then the concept of the story was a little bit odd for me. So the whole trading up thing, from the synopsis, it sounds really, really cool. When you find out the things that they're trading up, I'm like, are you serious? Number one, I don't think that the whole trading up thing would be able to happen as quickly as it happens in the story. Number two, I don't think they would be as lucky to find the objects trade up that they were finding. And then number three, I don't think it would have all fallen apart as quickly as it fell apart. And then there's the whole issue of like, where is her mother? Her mother is off looking at the new house that they're supposed to be moving into. You find this out in the first chapter, it's not a spoiler. But like, while she's off preparing this new house or looking for this new house, her daughter is literally gallivanting around the state and she's got no clue. And I'm just like, parenting, people. Where's the parenting? Anyways, let's get into the 5-star reviews for this. So this book has over 2,000 reviews with a general consensus that it is rated 3.87 stars. I rated it 2 stars. Did I rate it 2 stars or 1 star? I feel like I may have rated it 2. I rated it 2 because I understood what the author was trying to do here. So this one says, oh, that's a spoiler. I raced through the geography of lost things, much like Elle and Nico in the 1968 Firebird, enthralled by the flurry of emotions and understanding Elle goes through between memories, both good and bad, of her father, her childhood, and her short-lived love with Nico. Pieces of what make Elle who she is are revealed in a beautiful, sharply orchestrated way. A gorgeous coming-of-age novel. I am so thrilled that I got to take this journey too. I think because I read a lot of YA contemporary and I have such a love for road trip YA contemporary, I have a very, very high standard for it. So when it falls below those standards, I'm very, very critical of it. I think that Elle was very absorbed in herself and in her own issues, and that prevented her from being able to actually be a genuine character, because obviously there are very selfish, unbothered people in the world, but usually not so selfish and unbothered to the point where the person you're literally driving next to should not have to scream for your attention to be like, hey, you're not the only one going through things. So I think that was another reason that just really dampened my view on the book. It took me a long time. I think it took me like 2 weeks to read, to the point where I literally just sat on my couch and was like, I'm gonna hammer out the last 100 pages and just be done with it, because I kept reading for the memories of her father and wanting to see where that would go, and for Nico. That was really it. So, yeah. And the last book that we are going to do for this fun video is is Wilder Girls by Rory Power. I actually, okay, again with the squeaking, I need to readjust, I'm sorry. I actually gave this book 3 stars. This is not a book that I hated by any means, and honestly, if Rory Power has written anything since or writes anything else, I would probably read it because I really liked her writing style. I listened to the audiobook version of this story and it was beautiful. The reason that I gave it 3 stars and it is not one of my favorite books is strictly because of the ending. I thought it was going to be this really creepy YA fantasy realism type of story, and it ended up being like a sci-fi type of thing. So that was just a really big letdown for me. That's something that I might have known if I had looked further into the book, but I kind of just read the synopsis and wanted to give it a try. So I'll read you guys the synopsis. It's been 18 months since the Rexstar School for Girls was put under quarantine, since the talks hit and pulled Hetty's life out from under her. It started slow. First the teachers died one by one. Then it began to infect the students, turning their bodies strange and foreign. Now cut off from the rest of the world and left to fend for themselves on their island home, the girls don't dare wander outside the school's fence, where the talks has met the woods wild and dangerous. Has made the woods wild and dangerous. They wait for the cure they were promised as the talk seeps into everything, but when Byatt goes missing, Hetty will do anything to find her, even if it means breaking quarantine and braving the horrors that lie behind the fence. And when she does, Hetty learns that there is more to their story, to their life at Rexstar, than she could have ever thought true. Now, obviously from this synopsis, you could maybe gather that it was sci-fi. Maybe I was just not smart when reading the synopsis. But as you're reading it and you find out more of what's going on like in the forest and why they don't go in the forest, I really thought that there was going to be like some sort of magical, fantastical element to it, and that it didn't happen. So I think I was more so let down with that than anything else. This book is really creepy, and there are parts, like if you listen to the audiobook of it, there are scenes where the narrator describes bodily injury, and I'm just like, ooh. It was just, yeah. But it was really well done. So let's see some 5-star reviews for this book. So overall, this book has over 44,000 reviews, with a general rating of 3.54 stars, a kind of tie between 4 and 3 stars. So I'm kind of right in the middle there. Let's look at the 5 stars. This person says, I wasn't ready for Wilder Girls. When I sat down with my cup of tea and opened it in my cushy chair, I thought I was ready for Lord of the Flies type tale with biohuman interactions and a dash of female sprinkled amidst a feminist beautiful nightmare. My tea quickly turned cold. Abandoned. I couldn't stop. Wasn't sure if I wanted to, and when I finished, I just sat there pondering my very existence and the fact that I now had a new favorite book that I wasn't sure I'd ever want to read again but would never forget. That's fair. I don't know that I would ever reread that book, but it definitely does sit with you for a while. The talks took over Rexstar Island, and all girls school was quickly quarantined to contain the spread, but time is running out and the girls are dying. This is a gritty story, alternating the point of view between Hetty and Byatt. Wilder Girls details the events that happen as Hetty realizes what exactly is happening to Rexstar Island and what it means for those still trapped in infestation. At times horrifying, at times poignant, this is a singular story that brings to mind the YA horror novel of Dawn Kurtak and the sci-fi horror explorations of Jeff Vadimir's Annihilation. It's no coincidence that they were chosen for the back matter blurbs, and I say that the authors chosen for the blurbs are decidedly more indicative of Wilder Girls content than the other novels. Definitely new favorite, but I like my speculative tinge with darkness, so I'd advise the casual YA reader to read some reviews before diving right into this one. So this person just outright loved it, which is great. Again, I think, like I said, I think my biggest hang up is that I thought it was going to be more magical than sci-fi. I loved the horror aspect of it, even though I'm a huge chicken, so I won't critique that at all. The characters were phenomenal. They were very well written, very three-dimensional. The whole story was just three-dimensional. How the girls got there, why they were still there, and why the outside world was the outside world, essentially. It was a really well-written book, just not what I was expecting, which is why I ended up giving it the 3 stars instead of the 4 or 5. And that's totally my fault for just expecting something that I didn't get. But it's definitely It's not a book that I hate, it's just not what I wanted, I would say. So that's that. And that brings us to the end of this video. If you guys enjoyed it, please don't forget to like and subscribe before you go. Leave me a comment down below about what you thought about these books if you've read it, or what's a book that you hate that everybody seems to love, and we can talk about it in the comments. And until next time, keep on reading, and I'll see you in another video. Bye!